The Chinese Communist Party has boxed itself into a dilemma. People want an end to draconian zero-COVID restrictions, but easing those restrictions could lead to a wave of deaths because the country is simply not prepared. COVID zero started nearly 3 years ago in Wuhan in January 2020. Sky News was there on the ground. There's a bit of confusion, as you might expect, given this shutdown announcement came in the middle of the night. We know the train station and the airport, they're both closed. We're not sure about the roads. We've seen reports that they are being blocked by police, so we're going to try and find a way out of Wuhan. The idea that lockdowns would still be happening 3 years later would have been extraordinary. But in the early stages of the pandemic, it worked. China's death rate has been low throughout. You can barely see it on this graph, especially when you compare it to the UK and the US with a lot more deaths. So zero COVID bought time, but China didn't use it well. Instead of using it to vaccinate, to improve its medical system, it poured vast resources into testing like this and into lockdowns.
It's a bit of a chicken and egg problem. Once you're stuck, maybe like China was in this kind of idea that you could really suppress effectively the transmission of a virus, maybe there was not this kind of urgency that was needed to get people vaccinated and think about the future.
As a result, China has a very low rate of elderly vaccination. The figure for 2 doses aren't bad, but only 68.5%, this blue line of people aged over 60 have received a booster, and that's vital. Hong Kong had similarly low levels of vaccination amongst the elderly. And when Omicron surged out of control there, it recorded the highest death rate the world had seen. Now, Hong Kong is interesting for another reason. The population had received a mix of Western and Chinese vaccine. There's been doubts about the effectiveness of Chinese vaccines. And one study showed that 2 doses of BioNTech or Pfizer were much more effective than CoronaVac, the Chinese vaccine, against severe illness and death. But 3 doses of either vaccine were just as effective as each other. So the problem isn't the type of vaccine, it's that not enough people had had it. And there's another issue for China, an underdeveloped healthcare system. This is the number of intensive care beds per person in various countries. And China is all the way down this league table with just 3.6 beds per 100,000 people. As a result of that, experts have predicted that an unchecked spread would simply overwhelm China's healthcare system. There'll be nearly 3 million admissions to intensive care and more than 1.5 million deaths. Now, all of those problems might be fixed with the political will. But China has trumpeted its zero-COVID policy as proof of the superiority of its system compared to other countries. The problem is that Chinese people are looking at other countries and thinking that life there seems a lot better.